Welcome to my painting tutorial. Today I will teach you how to become a master painter and get top-notch quality painting stuff that you want to achieve. So first off, we're gonna start with this beautiful model here. You can see this is a space marine. You can see by his bolt gun and his body shape and this arm here, like you can see he's a right and proper space marine of the Space Wolf chapter. Being a space marine of the Space Wolf chapter, he obviously is one of the most badass models amongst the Imperium and the Space Marines. So we will have now paint them in the correct colors that we want our Space Wolves. And we all know that Space Wolves are best painted blue. So to start off with, we will go for my favorite blue color for Space Marine, Calidor Sky. As you can see here, Calidor Sky, really good starting paint to build up to that kind of grayish you want later on. So first of all, make sure that you have a cup of water to drink. Like just take a quick sip of it. Then you open up the paint. No need to shake, that's like a waste of time. Just make sure you take a good chunk of paint, like just get a good chunk of paint on it. You take the miniature and you just kind of start applying the paint where you want it. Like some people will tell you to get primer first. Now this is a bad advice, as primer is expensive and money you spend on the primer you could rather spend on more paint, on more models. And the more models you have, the better you're gonna be at painting. So obviously you want quantity. So skip the primer, not that important, it doesn't barely even do anything. It just gives you a basic color to work with. So you start off by just covering the model in blue, like the basic color you want it to be. I want most of this guy to be blue, so I'm just gonna paint him completely blue. We will get some good stuff in here, get every single corner, make sure that you get it in there. And remember, build your miniatures before you paint them. Always put your miniatures together, because if you don't put them together, you might accidentally paint somewhere that you're supposed to glue, and then you can't glue it together anymore, and then the model is just ruined. So keep applying paint until you've completed applying paint. It shouldn't take too long, and you don't be worried about getting paint on your hands. That's usual. Most painters will have hands covered in paint when they're done. And just make sure that it looks nice and thick. So like proper coverage. No part that you want to be colored should be gray at this point. So at this point your model should look somewhat like this. Like this guy here. A beautiful future space wolf. He will become probably one of the best veterans within the chapter. Next, we want to jump over to the second color. The second color, we want to build it up. So we're going to go for this one here, Temple Guard Blue, another favorite. And remember, just use the same brush. There's, again, no changes, no differences if you use the same brush, because they're both blue anyway. So for this, I'm going to get a little bit less. I'm going to just paint some on my table so I don't have as much paint on it. And then I will go for all the parts I want to stick out. So the shoulder pads here, you see beautiful shoulder pad working towards that light gray. Don't worry about the paint having to dry. Like some people will say have to wait until the paint dry. Barely any changes. I'm gonna make sure that this beautiful mask of his also becomes this beautiful blue here. You can now see he is perfect almost. Gonna give his shoe some nice light blue color, because he really he likes sneakers. I imagine this Space Marine liking sneakers, as that's one of the big things. Like if you read the Warhammer lore, you'll know that Space Marine cares about shoe wear. They care about looking nice with their shoes. So they will always make sure to have the best sneakers they can, or the most pumped up kicks, as the youth say. Next, after this, we want to move over to the next color, which is gonna be a nice lead belcher. Lead belcher is a metallic color. They make it probably by just grounding up the metal parts from old ancient kits that wasn't sold, and then you'd make sure to get it proper thick. You wanted to like your pencil to look like this. So take the miniature and just apply it onto the weapon. You want the weapon to be looking metallic and nice. And by the end of it, you should have a completely metallic gun. And then, as soon as the metallic gun is ready, you should have a model somewhat like this. Now, last but not least, we need to make sure that it gets a good proper coverage of shade. So I will use Army Painter shade instead of the normal Citadel shade, because I have personal preferences amongst shades, and Army Painter is what I normally use for my high quality. Now I will go for this one here, actually from Valhalla, whatever it's called, the French one I think, and I'm gonna go for that one again. The Army Green fits a little bit better for what I'm planning on using here. Just gonna have to shake it a little bit because the Vallejo seems to not be properly mixed. So just gonna get some of this nice Army Green shader. Now some people would say you should use something like Null Oil or Dark Shade or Dark Tone from Army Painter, but no. We're just gonna get a good sample of this shade here. I'm just gonna apply it carefully to like the places where we can see that we want some shade to be. So as soon as you have put the shade on, your model should look something like this. And oh yeah, we still have to do the back, so I'm just gonna apply some shade on the back of the miniature, make him look nice. And here we have a complete perfect space wolf. So remember, now you can dip your pencil into the water from earlier, and just to enjoy it, let's take a swig. Remember, always taste your paint water as to know how much paint you've spent today. If you have any more questions or want any further tutorials, feel free to leave them down below, and have a nice day.